Recently, the YouTube algorithm, in all of its infinite wisdom, began suggesting to me videos about Dita Von Teese. And at first I was like, wait a minute, what are you talking about, YouTube? And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm actually incredibly interested, because up until that point, the only things I knew about Dita Von Teese were that she was a burlesque legend, she once was married to Marilyn Manson, and that she is fair skin beauty goals. But that's all I knew about her. So I set out to learn, how does one become Dita Von Teese? Today we're gonna find out while we create this incredible, I'm in love with it, Dita Von Teese inspired makeup look. Let's begin in Rochester, Michigan. Yes, Rochester, Michigan. Dita Von Teese was born Heather Renee Sweet on September 28th, 1972. I think that Heather Renee Sweet, like Heather Sweet, is just the perfect name for Dita Von Teese. Like, for that to be her original name, it just makes perfect sense. I did not know her original name before this video, but it's pretty on point, I think. Like, to me, I can see her as Heather Sweet. Having a birthday of September 28th means that Dita, or Heather as she was born, is a Libra. Libras are known to be romantic, imaginative, and creative. I think it's pretty clear that she displays all of these characteristics. She grew up in Small Bend, Michigan. It was a very small farming town. Dita's father was a machinist and her mother, Bonnie, was a manicurist. Bonnie was a huge influence on Dita's life and still is. She is still alive. She would later help Dita develop her signature half-moon manicure, which is inspired by the ones that stars in the 1930s would wear. Dita also had two sisters, Jenna and Sarah, and she is still very close with both of her sisters and with her mother. I found this to be a very endearing and telling thing about Dita. The fact that she's maintained a very tight circle with her family, to me, says a lot about her childhood and her values. She values her family, and clearly to have a mother and sisters that she's still very close with that are still a part of her circle, that says, you know, she had a good supportive family growing up and still does. So starting very early on in life, Dita began taking ballet lessons and she was classically trained. She became a solo performer in a local ballet company in Michigan, but by the age of 15, she realized that she was not going to be good enough to make that her career. She does still, however, though, often go up on point in her burlesque routines, which is something that's very difficult to do. So she still has found a way to tie in that classical ballet training even to this day. She would spend a lot of weekends as a child with her mother watching old classic Hollywood movies, and she became really entranced with the makeup and the style of Betty Grable, Hedy Lamarr, Rita Hayworth, Marlene Dietrich. And that's very interesting to me because she names those four women specifically in one of her books that I'm going to talk about later. And I think you can see each of those four women in Dita's style, in her signature style and look. I think you see little pieces of them there, and you really see that influence. When Dita would watch these movies, she would feel very transported out of her very small town in Michigan. She felt like she was taking, she would say, like a rocket ship to Hollywood and to this just glamorous life and this glamorous place. These movies transported her, and the aesthetics, the look of these women, it was a trip for her. It was a journey. It was like traveling. It was like a vacation, which really speaks to me. I grew up in a very small town. I know a lot of you guys did too. And I really just always, when I would watch old movies, it would just be like this glamorous image of Hollywood. And to me, like, that was like a vacation, being able to, you know, try to evoke that. I can totally see how that's an escape. And so Dita became very fixated on this idea of transforming yourself through makeup and beauty and glamour, and how that could really, how you could really create your own beautiful, glamorous life. When Dita was a teenager, her family moved to Orange County, California. Her father's job moved, so they leave Michigan and they move to California. Dita attends high school at University High School in Irvine, California. She has a prom picture in her book of her, and it is just like, I mean, she has always been beautiful, just a beautiful girl. Shortly after graduating high school, Dita, who is still Heather at this point, she begins studying at a local college. She studies historic costuming because, again, this has been from a very young age, and it never lets up. This really big interest, the strong interest in Hollywood, old Hollywood, classic glamour. She maintains that, and she begins studying historic costuming while attending this local college. She also starts working as a go-go dancer, and then soon after she starts working as a stripper. She dyes her hair from strawberry blonde to black to evoke Betty Page and Hedy Lamarr, and she begins crafting her signature classic glamour, that signature Dita Von Teese look. In 1992, she transitions into burlesque, and she adopts the stage name Dita after silent film star Dita Parlow. Burlesque allows Dita to focus her stripping on this vintage, glamorous performance art aspect, and this is where her signature look really gets going. Through this look and her performances in burlesque, Dita is able to really channel these old Hollywood stars that she loved. She's able to create this glamorous image and this glamorous life that is very eccentric, but very true to the life that she wants to create. She wanted to have this life that she saw in the movies, growing up, and she starts building this life for herself. I think it's important to note here that while Dita has transitioned into burlesque, she still very much, even to this day, considers burlesque to be stripping. I think it's important to make this designation because Dita herself has done numerous interviews on why she thinks it's important to be very clear that burlesque is really a vehicle for stripping. It's still stripping. She does this, I think, in large part to kind of destigmatize the way that society treats women who work in strip clubs, women who do strip. A lot of people talk about how classy and refined and elegant Dita's burlesque shows are, which is very true. But Dita herself said, and I want to quote this very specifically, that, quote, "People keep saying burlesque is not stripping, but it is. Burlesque is the term for the show that the stripping is in. I don't feel I have to tell people I'm doing something fancier than stripping. I love stripping." Dita really enjoys her work. It is art to her. It's her career and her lifestyle. And she is so good at explaining that burlesque is the vehicle for this expression. To Dita, this is where the line of degradation versus empowerment lies. It's about the choice and whether or not this is an autonomous decision to the individual woman. If someone is throughout their life in a position where, they don't have the means or the access to education, and they feel that their only choice really, they feel kind of pigeonholed into the decision of going into stripping, then yeah, that would be a degrading situation. That was not the situation for Dita. She had access to education. She had a very good family life. She had opportunity, and this is what she wanted to do. And so she makes it a point to really make that distinction of, it's not that burlesque is any fancier or makes me any better than anyone that works at any strip club. The difference is this what the person wants to do? Is this what the woman wants to do? Or are they forced into this situation? And I think that she is just an incredible feminist, to be honest, for making that distinction, because it is a very important one. She becomes very well known in the burlesque and adult entertainment world over the course of 10 years, from 1992 to 2002. She becomes very big in the adult entertainment world in this very niche section. But her big break into the mainstream consciousness comes in 2002, when in December she is the cover model for Playboy. Now, up to this point, Dita has only used one name for her stage name. She has been just Dita. But Playboy requires her to have a surname. So she goes looking in the phone book and she finds the last name Von Teese. And yes, I said Von Teese with an R. She finds the last name Von Teese. So she tells Playboy, okay, it's Dita Von Teese. But Playboy ends up misspelling it as Dita Von Teese. And Dita's like, you know what? I like that. let's stick with that. And it's honestly, it's perfect. Overnight, Dita becomes well known in households across America, not just because of her Playboy cover, but also because she's often seen appearing on the arm of her then boyfriend, Marilyn Manson, who she had begun dating on his 32nd birthday on January 5th, 2001. Now, to be honest, the first time I remember seeing Dita come into like my atmosphere was on the arm of Marilyn Manson. I would have been 12 back then, so I definitely was not checking out Playboy. So I definitely remember her just from seeing her with Marilyn Manson and thinking, wow, she looks like she came out of like an old movie. Why is she with that guy? He is not cute. Dita thought he was cute though, and in 2004 she does accept a marriage proposal from him. The next year, in 2005, Dita appears in the short film The Death of Salvador Dali, where she appears as Dali's wife. She wins an award at the Beverly Hills Film Festival for this role, and later that year, she and Marilyn Manson do marry. They actually have 2 wedding ceremonies. The first ceremony is in November of 2005 in their home, and then the very next month in December, they have a second ceremony that is held at a castle in Ireland. This is a huge deal. The wedding is photographed by Vogue. Dita's dress is made by Vivienne Westwood, and her shoes are custom made by Christian Louboutin. Let's diverge momentarily here because Christian Louboutin, I was interested to find out, is actually one of Dita's very closest, dearest friends, and he makes custom Louboutins for her all the time, like well over 1,000 pairs of Louboutins. She owns many of them custom, which initially when I watched, she did like an Architectural Digest walkthrough of her home. And when I originally saw her shoe closet, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. But then I remembered Louboutins are, to me, the most uncomfortable shoes on the face of the earth. Have you ever tried them? I have owned 3 pairs in my life and they hurt my feet so badly that I sold one of the pairs, I returned one of the pairs, and I still have one in my closet and I literally never wear them. So throughout this time, Dita is performing burlesque and she is really reviving it in mainstream popular culture. She performs burlesque shows all over the world, like some incredible places like the New York Academy of Art and the Cannes Film Festival. She becomes just synonymous with burlesque in the modern era. She also appears in music videos and she walks high fashion runway shows for huge designers like Christian Dior, Vivienne Westwood, Jean Paul Gaultier, and Marc Jacobs. She appears in Vanity Fair, Vogue, Elle, and in 2006, she was part of the MAC Viva Glam 6 campaign. They do like a special lipstick, and 100% of the proceeds go to the MAC AIDS Fund. I just want to say on my notes, I wrote MAC AIDS Fun, and it reminds me of The Office when they did the fundraiser. MAC AIDS Fun. Not fun. Fund. It's a fundraiser, not a fundraiser. Dita is internationally known by this point, and her career has just taken off. She becomes the first guest star at the Crazy Horse, a very famous cabaret in Paris. This is a huge moment for Dita, but at the same time that her star is just taking off, her marriage to Marilyn is on the decline. Marilyn is partying all the time. He is seeing another woman, so he is cheating on Dita. She's not okay with this at all, and she tries to give him an ultimatum, basically give up the partying and the other woman or I'm going to leave. And this ultimatum does not work out because, spoiler alert, ultimatums in relationships never work out. You should not be in a position where you're having to give someone an ultimatum. Like, once it gets to that point, that's the problem. So on Christmas Eve in 2006, Dita leaves her home that she shares with Marilyn Manson empty-handed. She just walks out and she is done. She's done. Marilyn, for his part, is literally nowhere to be found. It's Christmas Eve and he's not with his wife. Gosh only knows where he is. So he doesn't actually know that Dita has walked out. And on December 29th, just 5 days later, she files for divorce. So Dita was not playing around. From the time she left on December 24th, 5 days later, she has filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Marilyn, again, which is so weird to call him was his original name Marilyn? I don't know, and I'm not Googling him because, when you Google a person, it's like, obviously they're tracking our phones, the Google is. And so when you Google someone, have you noticed that then you Google somebody once and you get articles about them for 2 weeks after? I do not want to get articles about Marilyn Manson for the next 2 weeks. No, thank you. So Marilyn, he's off partying and he doesn't know that Dita has filed for divorce yet. He finds out right about the same time the public does when he is served with divorce papers on his birthday, January 5th, 2007. 6 years to the day that the two started dating, their relationship is over. While Dita was very established in her career at this point, Marilyn, at least at the time, was definitely worth more money than Dita was worth. He had more assets, more residuals from his, albums. You keep making money off those every time someone uses them, all that. He just had more stuff than she had, monetarily speaking. That's really the only way he was richer than her. Anyway, Dita didn't want anything to do with that. She did not want any of his assets. She was not interested in getting alimony or spousal support. She just wanted to be done. So because of this, their divorce ends up being pretty straightforward. In the wake of this heartbreak, Dita throws herself into her work, and it pays off. Over the next 5 years, she continues to appear all over the world doing these amazing burlesque shows. And by 2012, she is launching her own lingerie range, a makeup collection, an underwear line. She's launched 2 fragrances. She'll go on to launch a total of 4. And she starred in several music videos. And the biggest one, in terms of 2012 fame, is that she has made a guest appearance on CSI, which was that was the height of fame back then. She builds this incredible multi-million-dollar empire that's really based around her signature style. When you think about it, when anyone across the world thinks of Dita Von Teese, the same image basically is popping into our minds. That winged liner, that bold red lip, the very fair alabaster skin, and her blue black hair, blue black, which just means that it's so black that it's almost blue, because that's a thing. Anyway, that blue black hair, styled in the page boy cut, she lives this style, and this is 100% just who she is and who she wants to be and the life she's created. But from a business standpoint, it's also an incredibly smart marketing move. Her brand is her face, and it is instantly recognizable. Dita made this decision very consciously, actually, early in her burlesque career, and it's something she herself calls the Dietrich rule, based on Marlene Dietrich. She says that Marlene Dietrich was never pictured or photographed being anyone other than Marlene Dietrich. Marlene Dietrich had a very, very signature look, and she did not let people mess with that look. And because of that, when you or I, again, think of Marlene Dietrich, we have the same image in our head. Dita was very smart. She recognized this, and she decided to apply this own rule to her life. So while you may be able to find some pictures of Dita before, she really found her signature style, you may be able to find some pictures of her when she was younger, and occasionally she's photographed without a full face of makeup. For the most part, whenever we see Dita, we see Dita Von Teese. In 2014, Dita began dating Adam Raykovich. He is a graphic designer for Disney, and I have to say I'm very happy for her because she's described her relationship a little bit in some interviews, and it seems like this is a very supportive, loving boyfriend that she has. They've been together for 7 years now. And reading interviews and books that I've read, it's really clear that not only was Dita's marriage to Marilyn, devastating in its end, and definitely probably not the healthiest throughout, but she also had several other partners who really could not accept her as she is. Many of her kind of seem to really love the image of Dita Von Teese at first, but then like, I guess they kind of expected it to be like a facade or something, like, you know, oh, like she's not like this all the time, but she really is. It is who she is. That is authentically her lifestyle. So a lot of men would be attracted to her, but then find themselves very jealous or just not able to, you know, really reconcile that this is Dita. We're unable to cope with the reality of it. And I've mentioned before how big a role acceptance really plays in love. So I'm glad that Dita has found someone that seems to very genuinely accept her for who she is, because you cannot have a truly real loving relationship without genuine acceptance. In 2015, Dita released her book that I have right here, Your Beauty Mark, The Ultimate Guide to Eccentric Beauty. In the book, which I love, and now it's really heavy and I'm gonna have a hard time setting it down. Love this book. Like, I have read this thing cover to cover, and now I'm so excited because it's just gorgeous. I'm gonna like feature it on my vanity, and I think it's the perfect like vanity coffee table book. It's just beautiful and fantastic. But in the book, Dita covers her early life and really how she became Dita Von Teese. She shares her beauty routines and her secrets. She's very open about her beliefs on plastic surgery, or maybe not her beliefs, but her views on plastic surgery and what work she has had done and what work she has not had done. But what I found fascinating was learning that Dita, 99% of the time, does her own makeup. She just explains that she loves the ritual of doing it, and she feels like it actually takes less time for her to do it than it would for a makeup artist to do it, because she knows her face and she knows what she likes. I really connected to that, and just seeing how much pride she takes in creating a face of makeup and the way it can transform her energy, that completely resonates with me. You know, for me, sitting down to do my makeup is such an experience. And when I see a gorgeous look on like Dita Von Teese or Marilyn Monroe or anyone, even someone current like Carrie Underwood, I see that and I instantly want to capture that feeling. I want to capture just that beautiful energy that they have. And so the things that Dita believes and says about beauty and how she's really made this her lifestyle, it really spoke to me and kind of surprised me. I didn't expect to have something so fundamental in common with Dita Von Teese, but I get her. In 2006, Dita again returned to the Crazy Horse to perform, and she gets incredible reviews. All the critics agree she is better than ever. But some people, namely People magazine, literally People magazine, decide rather than focus on how incredible Dita's performances are, because I mean, she's honestly like, it's incredible what this woman does. Like, it's nuts. She's fantastic. Anyway, People magazine doesn't want to focus on that. They want to focus on the fact that Dita is at the time 44 years old, because, you know, 44, I mean, she's basically, you know, ready to go get a reverse mortgage. She is going to go get a bone density test. She needs to, I don't know, get her ARP membership, get her affairs in order, because, I mean, she's knocking on heaven's door at 44 years old. Dita, ever the inspiration, she really hits back on this ageism full force, telling People magazine, what's the alternative? Die young? I love that. I love that. You go, Dita. She also pushes back on them like, if I was a man, would you ask me how I feel about aging? No, you wouldn't. I find it so ironic that on average, women live longer than men, yet we're the ones that are always asked questions about aging and how we feel about getting older. Like, we would feel great about getting older if society and People magazine, weren't always telling us that our value is in our youth. Thanks. Like, you created this problem. Why are you asking Dita Von Teese about a problem that you, the media, and society in general have created yourselves? Why don't you ask yourself how you feel about perpetuating ageism? In 2018, Dita released her self-titled debut album, and last year in 2020, she walked in Jean Paul Gaultier's final couture fashion show in Paris. I honestly did not know much about Dita until the last few weeks, but I have to say, I'm a huge fan. She seems to quite clearly be an extremely genuine, kind human being who is doing what we should all aspire to, which is living our lives as our best authentic selves. That is inspiration no matter where your dreams lie. We all deserve the opportunity to choose who we want to be, and in that regard, Dita Von Teese is truly iconic. She decided who she wanted to be, she decided what life she wanted to live, and she built it. She was born Heather Renee Sweet, but she wanted to become Dita Von Teese, glamorous old Hollywood star, and she did it. Dita really actually embodies my ultimate hope for this world, which is that one day all humans will be given the opportunity to live their lives authentically and without judgment. If you aren't hurting someone else, live and let live. If you enjoy learning about the lives of beauty icons, be sure to check out my entire Beauty Biography playlist. There are so many incredible women in there, including one of Dita's biggest idols, Miss Hedy Lamarr. I hope to see you there. Until then, you take care of yourself.